Stop.
3. Bonus points for the film.
Wayne's World. It's the only film I've ever watched. Okay, bye, thank you.
No worries.
Oh. I thought something had fallen off the wall. Hi, Aimee, you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. You okay?
Do you want to start off by saying who you are?
Yeah. I'm Aimee. I'm 34. I'm a mum. I'm a wife. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to say when people say, can you know.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah,
it's a really hard thing. If you're going to ask me in like a work capacity, I can reel it off really quickly and really confidently. In everyday life, I'm like, hi, I'm Mickey. Full stop. And then I'm like, I've got nothing else to say apart from this. But yeah, I think it's a skill to be able to be like, okay, this is who I am. And then I'm just going to end really confidently. Otherwise you end up being like, yeah. And then when I was 12, I moved into a house. Like before you know it, you've like completely gone down a rabbit hole. But even then, like in work, sometimes we're like, oh, can you introduce yourself? And some people will take like 10 minutes and you're like, oh my God, I've never met you before, but now I know where you live.
Everything about you.
I know everything about you. It's so weird. So obviously you set up Rise Above Cancer this year. So do you want to just talk about like what that is and what it means to you and what the point of it is?
Yeah, okay. So I was diagnosed with cancer back in December 2020. So I'm living with ocular melanoma, which is a rare form of eye cancer. I was also pregnant at the time as well with my son, Evan. And obviously that point in my life was like extremely difficult and tough. And obviously it's easier for me now than what it was back then. But obviously I still get like upset and stuff about it, and I'm very angry about it. And I wanted to take the power back from cancer, basically say, fuck you. And yeah, I wanted to create something that was going to be positive and kind of give something back, and channel that energy into something that's going to make a difference. So that's when Rise Above Cancer was born.
I fucking love the idea of taking big emotions and then turning it into something positive, like using like things like rage and anger and like upset to be like, actually I'm going to channel these things into like something way more positive and something really meaningful that like facilitates change in the long run. Rise Above Cancer started this year?
Yeah, this year, beginning of this year, I think. Yeah, it's exciting. I just want to empower those affected by cancer, whether it's, you know, individuals that have cancer or have had cancer themselves, or whether it's just individuals that know somebody that has cancer or had cancer, because, you know, 1 in 2 people will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime, which is massive. And cancer, there's a massive stigma around cancer. A lot of people don't like to talk about it because it is difficult, but because it affects so many of us, it's so important to break those barriers and challenge that stigma.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more you can talk about it, the more you can raise awareness, the more people can get like an early diagnosis, or like at least to know that it exists. Just being able to talk about things like this would be huge. Like I think because people don't talk about it, it gives the thing the power to like crush you, whereas if you just spoke about it openly and honestly, you can like take all that back. I think Rise Above Cancer is I love the way it looks. I love everything, but like, you know, when you look at something you're like, I can see a person in it. Like, yeah. I think all of the stuff around Rise Above Cancer, like it just screams Aimee. I love that. You know, like all the like logos and stuff. I'm like, if you'd have been like, who do you know that has this brand? I'd be like, yeah, of course, it's Aimee Health. Like if you haven't seen it, like you need to go follow Rise Above Cancer on Instagram and see it. But yeah, it's like, yeah, it's really, really fucking cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yesterday.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have seen that, but Aimee did an eye roll. I was saying yesterday that I felt really bad that I'd scheduled the podcast in for today because Aimee did a momentous challenge yesterday. And I was like, yeah, we'll just do the podcast the day afterwards. Like, it'll be fine. And then I was like, oh, she's going to be fucked. But it's like, also, we just ride the momentum. So do you want to explain the challenge?
Yeah, so it was the first fundraiser for Rise Above Cancer. We were raising money for Maggie's, which is an amazing place for people with cancer. And then, like I said, families or friends or caregivers that know somebody with cancer can go and literally just talk, or not talk. It depends on, you know, what you want to do, what you want to get from that. But they do such an amazing job, and I literally probably wouldn't be sitting here right now having this conversation with you if it wasn't for them. So I wanted to give something back to them. And also Dan, who's a coach at Outcast, his gym.
Yeah.
He has an Up Yours Cancer sessions with a lot of people that have obviously been through and are still going through cancer. So I really wanted to give back to those. So I decided to, I'm laughing about it now, to do 228 tractor tyre flips, which was fucking... It was hard. Like, I knew it was going to be hard. And, like, when you do fundraisers and when you do these things, you want to do them so people can be like, oh, yeah, this is going to be hard. Like, we need to support, you know. But, yeah, it was absolutely amazing yesterday. Like, I couldn't have wished, I don't think, for a better day. It is a bit of a blur for me now, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it was so good. It was amazing. 228.
Yeah.
Why is it 228?
So for my diagnosis, my treatment and where I still go now is up in Liverpool in St Paul's Eye Clinic in the Liverpool University Hospital. Yeah, so it's quite a long way, and each flip represented 1 mile to the hospital. So obviously it was quite emotional as well.
Yeah.
Like when I was doing the flips, you know, and finding out what flip I was on, because I didn't have a clue most of the time. I was just flipping the tyre. But yeah, and then to finally get there, like, yeah, it felt good.
So it's 228 just to Liverpool. It's not 228 round trip. It's just the one way.
Just the one way, yeah.
Fuck, imagine you've done the round trip.
No, Aaron joked about that yesterday. I was like, fuck off, absolutely not. No, I'm done now. I'm done with the flipping the tyres for a while.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I was like thinking about after you'd finish, and I was like, if she comes to the gym this week and gets tyre flips, do you reckon how
I'm just going to walk out?
No, I'm not doing this.
Not today.
No, it was awesome. Like the atmosphere and everything was incredible. But like I think that was just a huge part of like the way that you just approached it and like took it on. Like it was like from the moment you walked in yesterday, you were like, I'm doing this. Like I'm doing it. Like that whole attitude you had was like phenomenal. There was like no doubt in your mind you were going to do it. And then yeah, just watching you like tick everyone off. Because I was like, okay, we're going to put 228 lines on the board. And then everyone will just wipe off or just tick off and it'll be fine. And then when I got to 228, I was like, oh, the whole whiteboard's filled.
When I saw it when you were doing it, I was like, oh my fucking God.
I was like, what I tried to do was be helpful and then be like, oh, so we'll just slowly tick one off. And then you walked over and I was like, here's the whole whiteboard. Don't look at it, like you'll be fine. But yeah, it was awesome. Like I was saying to you earlier, the bit where I came over and you're like really stoically eating the rice cake and you were like, and then she was just like nodding, like Owen was giving you a pep talk and everything. You were just like there, like yeah, like there was just so much determination and so much like, yeah, I'm just gonna do this, like it'll be fine.
I think in those situations, like you have to. I am a firm believer in like if you tell yourself you can do something, you're gonna do it. Yeah,
I love that. Like the self-confidence, like the self-belief to be like, yeah, I'm going to do this thing. Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, the more that you can like have that message in your life is huge. Because if you walk in with any, like the gym is a really easy setting to be able to tell yourself stuff like that. Because you're like, if you just tell yourself you're going to do this really heavy thing or you're going to do this really like big like scale or whatever, like it does make you think you're going to do it. But it's like a thing that everyone should just do in life. You know, if you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this thing. Then yeah, I think it's such a really cool attitude to have to stuff. Yeah. But yeah, no, you crushed it. Like that doesn't like undermine how hard it was. But yeah, it was
I'm feeling it now.
Yeah. Aimee walked in this morning and was like, do you want to see my bruises? And I was like, yeah, I do. Like she's got some like really big bruises, but they're cool. Like now you could be like, yeah, I'd flip this tyre, 220 tyre. The big tractor tyre as well. Like let's not, let's go. Like, yeah, it's like 100 kilos, maybe more, I think.
I don't even know how much it weighs, but yeah.
It's probably best you didn't know before you did it because you were like, oh, I got to do this. But yeah, no, it was awesome. And to have like everyone join in as well was really, really cool.
It was so emotional. And I think when the guys from the gym started doing it with me, that felt normal. Like, because that's something that you do anyway, and you're used to seeing those people in that environment. And then to have, like, some of my closest and oldest friends, like when my friend Kieran came up, I literally just broke because, I don't know, it just felt like that he was there with me, supporting me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I don't want to make you cry this early on. No, it was really cool. I think it's like when you see people just come up in like jeans and stuff, and then they're like, and also I think the big thing for me was watching like people come up and then go to lift it and being like, fuck, like whoa, like this is really heavy. For those people to actually also realize that how like a big of a task you'd set yourself, I think was another like really phenomenal part of the day, was when people were like, oh my god, like this is heavy, really heavy. Was there any point during it where you were like, oh, this has got really hard now?
Yeah, so when I started doing it with Dan, so from the time I started doing with him, I had to literally, like, even though I could hear you guys, I literally just couldn't look, because I thought, if I look, I'm just gonna get too emotional. And I just literally concentrated on my breathing and like getting into a routine with it, and I just couldn't stop doing that then, which was great, because honestly I did like another load of flips. Yeah,
what was that? Was that like the halfway mark? Or was that just before the halfway mark?
It was when I finished that with Dan, I was on 180, and I knew then that I only had 48 left. And when everyone said, you've done 180, I was like, no. Already? Like, like, it was mad.
You got to that point super quickly, I think. It just flew by, and then you're like, right, just 50.
And then I was like, fuck the clock, I don't care about the clock anymore. Let's just fucking go, let's get it done.
Yeah, because you'd worked out like quite meticulously like how many you had to do, like a minute and stuff, didn't you? So like, when did that go? Like, as soon as you got to 180, you were like, I'm not doing that anymore. Like,
yeah, when I got to 180, I was like, yeah. And to be honest, even when I was doing with Dan, like, and Howard was like, Aimee, you're going too fast. You need to slow down. You're doing it before every 20 seconds. And I was like, I don't care anymore.
I don't care. The end is in sight. Like, here we go.
Yeah. And the best bit was the last lot that I had to do. I said to Owen, I was like, you need to put turnstile on now, because that's what's going to get me through it. Because I could feel myself, like, I was like, I'm either going to fail or I'm going to fucking go for it and do it. And I was like, I need to have, like, one of my favourite bands play really fucking loud. Yeah. Just like, and it was the best.
Yeah, there's like, the bit that I remember the most was one Turnstile song came on and you were like, fuck yeah. And then you just like put your arms up the air and started singing it. And everyone was like, oh my God, like the energy just flipped. And I was like, oh, here we go. She's got like 30 left or something, and I was like, oh yes, okay, there was no doubt in my mind she's gonna finish this. Like, there was never any doubt you were ever gonna fail in my mind. But yeah, like, I just love the way that music just ended up completely changing the energy, and we were all like, yeah, like, let's go. It was awesome. It was so good. And then at the end, like, this huge thing of emotion, like, I was behind you filming, and then I just looked around the room, and like everyone was like filling up, you know, people that haven't known you for a long time that are like super invested in this chat, and then like, yeah, everyone coming over and hugging you. I was like, oh God, like, I need to take 5. I was like, this day's not about you, like, stop. But yeah, it was like, the end was just phenomenal.
Yeah,
you should be super proud of yourself. Like, I know you are, but yeah.
I'm fucking proud of myself.
yes. This is probably a stupid point to ask this question.
Oh God.
But what is, have you got any future things lined up for Rise Above Cancer?
Fundraiser wise, not right now, but potentially maybe starting my own podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, because there's only so much you can say in a 90-second reel on Instagram, so I feel like I have so much to say, and yeah, I need a space where I can do that. And I want to talk to other people. I want to talk to people that have had cancer as well. I want to talk to people that, you know somebody. I got a friend that's a doctor, and I want to talk to him. And like, there's a lot of different people that I want to speak to.
Oh, it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Like, you should just go on. I mean, I can just set this up for you all the time. You just come in and record. I am a firm believer in that people are doing like magic every day, and people are just like living with stuff and like doing stuff all the time. And then like being able to like put that like on a recording, like, and being able to like showcase that there are people walking around doing amazing stuff and you just have absolutely no idea. Aaron has just slid a little coffee. The best thing about it is that we're filming this, so a coffee has just appeared in the It was amazing. Thank you so much, Aaron.
I didn't know how you wanted yours. It's just black.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to leave that in. I'm not editing that out. Bye-bye.
He's a good husband.
Oh my God. It was like, I heard the door go and I looked and then Aaron was just like slowly creeping in with 2 coffees.
On the floor.
I wish there was a camera up here so you could see the like sliding in really carefully. Oh God, he's a good one.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, like yesterday just watching like him support you as well was like super like heart-filling, like heartwarming. But yeah, no, like like what I was saying was, yeah, so like being able to like platform those voices and being able to like put them Aim, I think you should just go all in. Like you can use this one as episode 1 if you want. I'll just cut me out of it. You can have it as episode 1, but yeah, definitely do it all in. Everyone should have a podcast.
Yeah,
mostly you.
Thanks.
Yeah,
but the
really
absolute
cool.
dream for me is to like go on tour with like bands and have like my own desk, and it's not so much about selling the merch, it's just being able to have the conversations with people in like an environment that I absolutely fucking love and have similar interests with people and just talk to people.
Oh my God,
That's literally the dream.
that would be amazing.
And I'm putting it out there now on recording.
Manifesting
so it's
it. Yes, I fucking love that idea. I mean, like there are bands that you could just message now probably and be like, can I just show up and sell merch? And, like they would definitely do it for sure. I'm now emotionally invested in this. I'm going to ask you every day, be like, have you messaged anyone? Have you spoken to anyone? No, I think that's the coolest idea ever. That was a stupid time to ask because I was like, are you doing any more fundraisers? And you were like, no, I'm not fucking thinking of anything else yet, dickhead. I've just done 228 typos. What more do you want?
Aaron last night, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do another one for a while now.
No, and like when you put all that pressure on yourself, like it's a lot to then be like, okay, so what's the next really crazy thing I'm going to do that's going to get everyone invested in it? Like, you guess you could run 228 miles?
No.
Anyone that comes on the podcast, we talk about 3 things that we wish we knew when we were younger. Because obviously I want like young girls to listen to this and then to understand that like life is like a massive learning curve. And then when you get to like 30, then you reflect back and you're like, oh, like these are the things I wish I knew. Because then if you could just live your life like that when you were younger, then you're already so far ahead of the game. So we're going to dive into this now. Okay.
Let's do it.
Right. Number 1. What is the number 1 thing you wish you knew when you were younger?
My body, my fucking business. So from a child, essentially, other people have always had issues with the way my body looked. When I was a child, I was I was a little bit of an overweight child, but whatever. Like I went to Weight Watchers when I was a child.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was bullied a lot in school, emotionally, mentally, physically bullied. When I was in school, I know you talk a lot about PE and stuff on the podcast, and I remember being asked to go into a room with a few other girls, and it was quite like obvious what was happening. So they were obviously quite a lot of like larger girls, and they were like, right.
Oh my God. This is already fucking making me so angry.
Yeah. And they were like, right, so you've all been asked to come into this room. You've been signed up to the local gym, and you're going to be going to classes, blah, 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 blah. And you know what? I have never felt so small and little in my life.
Oh, Aimee, that's just made me feel like that's just crushed me. Like it's just fucking horrific to think that that's the message being told to you.
Like,
yeah.
The whole like thing around it, I just felt so ashamed to be in that room, you know. And like I said, you know, there was other girls in that room as well. And even in my adult life as well, not just in, you know, as a teenager. Like I've had a nurse, like literally the day before me and Aaron were going on our first holiday abroad together, I went to get my pill injection, and obviously like they weigh you and stuff, do your height or whatever, and she literally sat me down and was like, so you're obese? And I was like, okay. And you know, like I just feel like through all of my life, probably until I was diagnosed with cancer, I was like, I've had a real tough time with like body image, and until it took to being diagnosed with cancer, and I was like, yeah, I don't fucking care anymore. I think it's really important for girls to know that like your body is a vessel in your life, who the fuck is anyone to say like whether your vessel is good enough or not, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that message so much. Like, you're right. Like, I also think that it places no bearing on, like, who you are as a human being. Like, the stigma attached to how you look bears no weight on how you behave. And the fact that we attach so much meaning to, like, what weight you are, what size clothes you wear, what you wear, like the way that you move and stuff like that actually doesn't affect the actions that you then take. You might fit into every societal norm in existence. You might be a massive twat. Yeah. But like, no one ever makes that thing of being like, actually you should probably sort out who you are as a person instead of focusing so much on how you look. And like, you know, it then detracts. Like, some people will just shrink themselves so much, you know, like I see girls now that have shrunk themselves down so much because they're so obsessed with how other people are perceiving them and their body. But you're totally right. Like, no one else's fucking business apart from your own. Like, like, your
weight does not define who you are. Like,
no.
And when you die, like, your friends are not going to say, oh, you know, I wish you had a smaller stomach, or I wish you had thinner legs.
Yeah.
No one gives a fuck.
No, that is so true. When you die, no one is going to be like, well, you know, she wasn't a size 10, was she? Like, no one's ever going to fucking say that. Everyone's going to be like, yeah, my life was infinitely better with her in it, and now I'm gutted. That it's wild the amount of, like, emphasis we place on shit like that.
And I think you've said in one of the podcasts before about, like, we're of that kind of age where magazines and stuff back in the day, everything was, like, you know, perfect. And it still is now to a degree, but obviously there's a lot more calling it out now with, like, social media and stuff, which is great. I still think it's probably around. Yeah. But you don't have to look like that. You're fine, absolutely fine, looking exactly how you are.
Yeah, just exist.
Just be you. And do you and fuck everyone else.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's so 100%. Many F-bombs in this, I'm sorry.
No, don't worry. Sometimes, because you're swearing, like, it's elevating my swearing and backwards and forwards, and I'm like, no, I'm here for this, because, like, I have to fight so hard. Like, Owen's listened to the podcast before, and Owen's been like, you just want to swear so much. And I used to try really hard at the start to not swear. And then I was like, but that's not who I am. Like, it's really hard. And then, like, even now I try and, like, control my language on some level to be like, you need to stop swearing every 5 seconds. But, like, I think one of the girls said it to her mum. This is the point I'm getting to now. I'm like, oh God. But she was like, the more you put power in these words, the more they hold them. So if you just say the word fuck and it holds no weight, it doesn't mean anything anymore. So, like, you can, on some level, just use it and it doesn't exist. But I think there's so much joy in being able to say the word fuck in the best way possible. Like, when you were earlier like, my body, my fucking business, I was like, yes! If you'd have been like, my body, my business, I'd have been like, yeah, still yes. But, like, it just amplifies it like times 20. And I'm like, yes, let's feel the rage. It's perfect. I love that. Okay, number 2.
So, I wanted to have something or say something around relationships. And I thought, right, I want to make sure I say, like, the right thing and, you know. So I thought, like, my, obviously, relationship with my husband is incredible. So I was trying to draw from what is good from that to kind of compare to previous and maybe how things were before. So I came up with 3 things.
Okay.
So, like, the 3 big things that I feel are good with our relationship is that we trust each other. We have communication and fun. Like, those 3 things, I think, for me, like, that's what makes a great relationship. And if none of those things serve you or what you value, put it in the bin. Just put it in the bin. Just forget about it. It's not worth your time. Move on.
Yeah, I know. I think that's so important. Yeah, like, don't waste your time. Put it in the bin. Just put it in the bin and leave. No, I think it's so important. Like, yeah, like, like, expectations of what you want from relationships.
And, like, when I thought about it, the more I thought, actually, this isn't just, like, romantic relationships or sexual relationships. This is friendships. This is family relationships. It's like, it kind of extends. So for me, I think you have to trust anyone is in your life. You have to be able to communicate, and you have to have a laugh, because life's too fucking short to be miserable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and if those things are not happening,
Fuck it, put it in the bin.
fuck it, put it in the bin. That's gonna be my next t-shirt design. Fuck it, put it in the bin. No, I think that's awesome. Like having like, yeah, clear expectations and stuff that you can like make sure that you have value in that, and then also recognizing that if these things are not meeting those expectations, you can just walk away and it's not worth your time, because
I think I wasted so much time and like invested in so much. I think we're quite similar in some ways, because I know you've mentioned about being a people pleaser, and I am that, but I am less of that now. Still am sometimes.
Yeah.
But I'm more aware of it now than probably what I was back then. And I think when somebody gives you, or when somebody acts in a way and makes you think, well, why don't you want me? You kind of fight for it, because I am a fighter as well, and you kind of want to fight, and you probably should just go, nah, put it in the bin.
Yeah. Don't waste your time on stuff that doesn't serve you.
100%.
It's really hard to like communicate, because like I think when you're younger, like especially me, like I wasted so much time. Like, so when I was like I must have been 15. No, I must have been 16. When I was 16, I was in a relationship and he cheated on me, and I was like, this is the end of my life. Like, what the fuck? What have I done that meant that he had to cheat on me? And like, honest to God, it sounds so silly, but it still has some bearing on like how I perceive myself now, because I'm like, what did I do? And then like my next step was, I'm just going to forgive him and just carry on. Yeah. And then it was like, I went back to it, and then I spent like 6 months in this weird thing where he was clearly seeing the other girl and me at this. Yeah, it was so bizarre. But I wasted so much time when I could have been like, no, fuck you, actually. Yeah. I deserve more than this. 100%. And like, you know, when you just like, when I was 16, I wasted like probably like a year in total being just sad about this.
3.5 years.
No way. Like, it's mad, isn't it? And you're like, fuck. And then if you think about like what you have now, you're like, I could have had that.
But I don't regret anything, because I believe like things happen, and I probably wouldn't have been with Aaron if that hadn't happened.
Very true.
I wouldn't be the same person, and I think you grow from these things. It's just fucking annoying you don't grow until like years later.
I know, and then this is like the catch-22 I have of being like 3 things you wish you knew when you're younger, like let's try to impart some wisdom. And then sometimes I'm like, but sometimes you do have to experience these things to know these things, to then impart it back on yourself later on. But I think the key message here is just like not waste your time. If you know that your values, if you know you have values and expectations, don't waste your time trying to like get someone to fulfill them if they're not just doing it. Just fucking put them in the bin and move on. And you're totally right.
Don't even recycle them, just the bin.
They go straight in the black bin and we just ignore them. No, I think, and like the fact that it applies not just to like sexual relationships, but also to like your friendships and your family and stuff like that is huge. Like, I think there's a lot that shares like common things across those like spaces and those different relationships. But yeah, I think that's such a key one, is like, I think friendships as well, like being able to be like, you know, if people are, because I think this is a thing that happens in school quite a lot, because you're in a community of people. You often feel like you're stuck with that community of people and you can't move away from that. But like empowering people to be like, if it is not serving you, if it is just making you feel like shit every single day, like just bin them off and try and explore a different friendship group. And also the idea that school is not forever. So you can have space to like explore different friendships and different groups, and maybe spend some time on your own, or maybe spend some time with like a smaller group, and then just experience life way better with a smaller group or a different group than thinking that you have a massive friendship group that just make you feel like shit all the time.
A lot of different friendship groups, like, you know, it's good to have a mix, because like, you meet different people, different backgrounds. Yeah, and it's nice, I think, to be challenged in different ways by different groups too. Like, what one group believes that the other group might not believe, and like taking those things backwards and forwards, and like then you can kind of take the best bits from each pocket and make that yourself. Be greedy.
Yeah, be greedy. Be greedy, learn what you can from everyone, like absorb everything, take what you want, and then whatever doesn't serve you, it goes. It's off. It's also like super lush to hear you talk about Aaron in like that way too. Because I think there's a weird expectation in the world that like you obviously like you love your partner and you love the person you're with, but there's also the idea that like, oh, it's quite like a thing to shit talk them, or it's quite a thing to like always be like, oh, I don't know, just moan about them or whatever. So like I've always said this, maybe not to you, maybe it's behind your back.
Oh,
in the loveliest way possible. But the way that you talk about all your relationships is so beautiful. Like the way you talk about Aaron, the way you talk about Evan, your son.
I don't know.
Because I'm wearing that. Yeah, is like, it's really lovely to hear, because sometimes you just get caught up in a loop of people being like, oh, they're annoying me, or they've done this thing or whatever, and like, oh yeah, like I'm a mum, but it's loads of prep, like all this sort of stuff. But you are like, I fucking love everything about it. Like I love my relationships, I love being a mum, and all this sort of stuff is like so lovely to hear, you know, like it's, and like, yeah, because I think I have all those things from Carey. Like I feel like I'm super lucky and I'm super grateful to have someone like Carey, because he puts up with a lot of shit of my like, I've decided I'm gonna do this thing, and then he's like, okay, cool, yeah, like I'm on board, it's fine. But yeah, like, and it's like really lovely when you hear someone else be like, yeah, I just love them, and it's, yeah, they make me a better person, and vice versa, and like they are a good addition to my life.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think obviously going through what I went through as well, like it completely changes your perspective on everything. And yeah, like I am just so grateful to be here for a start.
Yeah.
And obviously to have the amazing support that I get off Aaron, like all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And having Evan is just incredible. He's like a mini me and a mini Aaron, and he so.
Oh my god, yeah, he's lush. He's awesome. But yeah, it's just like, you know, when you just like look to people and you're like, oh, like they are just really happy without having to be like, I'm really happy, blah, blah, blah. Like you just know, and it's just, yeah, it's just really lovely. But yeah, I think going back to like the idea that it's all based on like trust, communication, and fun is such a key thing. Like
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you are reflecting on your relationships and you're not laughing at least once a day at someone, then maybe you need to be like, is this what I want? Like on the weekend, I was trying really hard to be annoyed at Carey for something he did, but every time he was talking to me, I was like laughing. I was like, stop, like, this is so annoying.
I'm trying to be serious.
I know, but I was like, actually, like this is a really lovely thing that even when I'm like slightly annoyed at him for something really petty, like it goes back to just being like, oh, they're actually such a good addition to my life, and they're actually quite funny, and yeah, they do enhance my life on some level.
I am going to marry him.
Yeah. Yeah, like this is okay, this is a good thing. So yeah, no, I think those are 3 really lovely things to look for. Yeah, some people's might be different, but I think ours resonate quite closely with like what we look to with people. But yeah, someone might be like, fuck it, I don't talk to that person. Like find your 3 words, but I think there's a lot to learn from those 3 words. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Fab.
Final thing.
Health is wealth.
Yes.
So growing up, it was very much, you go to school, you go to college, you go to uni, you get a job, a career, like that was kind of like drummed into me from a young age. And I always chased it. I always chased that promotion, always wanted more money. Like that was basically what I was kind of, not brainwashed, because that sounds really bad.
No, but I think you are right on something. Yeah, like let's go with brainwash. Like, yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
And then I finished uni, got a job, and then literally stayed there for 12 years and just worked my way up into this big role. Got cancer, went off for maternity, was treated like shit by that job, and didn't go back. And now I work part-time doing something that I absolutely love, but I also still get to have time with Evan and Aaron. My boss is amazing, and yeah, I'm really happy. I might be on like a third of the wage that I was on, but it doesn't matter to me anymore. Like there's so many more things that are important in life than money. Yeah, I can't go to Florida every year or like, you know, but being here and having the time with Aaron and Evan and all my friends and my family, like that means just so much more than anything that money can buy.
Absolutely. And by Florida, you mean Disneyland, Florida.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's like, just for the record, she means Disneyland, not just Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's such a key message, like an important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think you are, like, I think brainwashing is the right thing, because you are like told in school that like each thing is a step, and then when you leave school there are people around you that enact like this things of like, then you have to get a really good job, and then you get married, and then you have children, but you still have to have a career that's like really well paid, and you still have to get promoted, and if you're not doing those things, like you're almost failing at life. And it's like, well, how am I supposed to have like a really fulfilling, happy marriage and like motherhood if I'm being then told I have to get a promotion every 5 seconds? Like, those things don't necessarily work hand in hand.
And like demanding job as well, and it's not just the amount you work anyway, but then it's when you're not actually working but you're still getting that demand when you're at home, like that work-life balance, like that is so important to me now, more than anything. Obviously I need to work to provide, like, but at the same time, you know, my time is better spent with Evan and Aaron.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I think what you were saying just then, like around also like spending so much time with a company and then going on maternity and realising that they have no fucking morals when it comes to this. So did you work, so obviously you took your maternity and then you never went back after your maternity?
Yeah, so I was 6 months pregnant when I got diagnosed in December. Then my maternity started obviously when Evan was born in the March. So I went straight from being off sick into maternity.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And you were like, nah.
Yeah.
Not going back.
No. Yeah.
Do you think like that was because of like your diagnosis?
100%.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Because of, I realised that, like, I've had, when I was in that role, like, I had team members that were diagnosed with cancer, and, like, we did, like, I did so much. Like, we did fundraising, I went to their house, I checked in with them all the time, like, all those things. And then when it came to me, nothing.
Ugh.
I didn't even have, like, a meeting to ask how I was. Like, you know.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was really shit.
It's really difficult when you're like, oh, why isn't this happening? Oh, it's because I did it. And then you're like, no one else cares.
Yeah. So I said, fuck off. Like, that's not what,
Yeah.
I can't go back to that. Like, I just can't.
It's a huge strength, I think. And it's something to not downplay, is the idea that like you realised and took it on yourself to be like, no, I need to change something. Because you could have just been like, yeah, but it gives me a wage, so I'm going to go back and just continue this life. But there's a huge strength in being like, no, like, I'm done. They don't care, so they don't deserve me. There's like a really good quote that like I often have to like read, because when I'm like close to like burnout and I'm like trying to work constantly, and then I'm like, it's something like, don't get bogged down in trying to work for someone that would have your job advert up before your obituary went out. And I'm like, fuck, yeah. Like, some places will just, there's not to say that there aren't great places to work for, like you've obviously found like a really great place to work for, and I love my job, so this isn't me like dismissing my job at all, but yeah, like just understanding that, yeah, like some places just treat you as replaceable. So if you're going to work yourself into the ground and work until like 9 o'clock at night, just remember they've got your replacement lined up.
Yeah. And I think for me as well, like I was in that bubble for like 12 years, and I think until you remove yourself from that, like you don't really see, you know.
Yeah,
clearly.
completely. Yeah. You can get like in it so much that you're like, oh, how do I remove myself? And then, yeah, I think that's a big one. Yeah. And yeah.
Health is wealth.
Health is wealth. Prioritize yourself. Look after yourself, absolutely. And don't get brainwashed into thinking that life is linear, because it's not. It's like, so at the moment, like the girls are like, where we're in? Yeah, we're in May. So the girls are like ramping up towards their exams, and like the pressure they put on themselves. And like, there's some element of them trying to like please their parents and also like please their teachers. And there's still that whole narrative around, well, if I fail this, my whole life is a failure because my GCSEs count towards my next job, or like my GCSEs feed. And you know, this whole thing of being like, oh, imagine we just empowered a load of young people to be like, yeah, like you can work really hard and you can do really well in your exams, and that's awesome. But if you don't, like if you for some reason like bomb an exam, it's no measure of you. You can still do incredible things in your life with no GCSEs. Like there are some people out there that are like, I don't have any qualifications, and like change the world on the daily. So like, you don't have to like play into this whole thing. Like you can live your life and be super happy without needing like a job that says you're head of department, and also like you can do that with no qualifications. Yeah. I'm also quite concerned that there'll be a parent listening to this being like, for fuck's sake, I don't want her to fail the exam now. But like, yeah, I think it's just not a measure of who you are as a person.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It almost goes full circle to what you're saying at the start. Like, it's not a measure of who you are. It's what you do every day, your actions and things like that. They're a measure of who you are. Your value is you. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So the last thing we're going to do
Yeah.
is you're going to recommend a song for everyone to listen to this week.
You're probably all going to be surprised it isn't a Turnstile song. However...
There's still a link.
Yeah. So the track's called Set Me Up by Angel Dust, and the band members are a mix of Trapped Under Ice and Turnstile. But the reason why I picked this song is because when they play it live, all the fucking girls get up on the stage and they fucking shout it, and it's class.
That is the coolest thing I've ever fucking heard.
Yeah.
I
it's
did
class.
not realise that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I love it.
Ah, that's phenomenal. It has a great story to go with it too. Ah, thanks, Aimee. So that song will play us out, but is there anything else you want to add?
The only thing I would like to add is to get your eyes tested. It saved my life. And check your bodies, and if there is something that's not quite right, make sure you go to your doctor's or your GP.
Phenomenal. Aimee, it's been an absolute fucking pleasure. I've
Thank
almost
you so
cried
much
like
for
20
having me.
times. But it's been amazing. So thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
Awesome.